Hello there. Been a long time since I've been on camera, but I've decided to do something a little bit special. A viewer's request. So, had an email last week, actually, when I was suffering with COVID again. Joys. But he asked, I used to enjoy your conquest stuff. Basically, these guys. Anyway, that I haven't touched in 2 years. And he said he's been looking all over the internet for techniques in something called Sundrop, which I'd never heard of before, in all honesty, but looked into it, and there is someone who has done a Sundrop technique for these little Marines, but it's in German. So someone asked, basically, could you do one in English? And I was like, oh, I have all these War Master things to paint up, and since you asked nicely, because he did say please, I figured let's go and have a look, see if I've got any Marines. Yes, I have. I've got tons, just doing nothing. And have I got the paints? Because Sundrop is a different sort of technique. So, first off, you need a black, you need a grey, and then you need a white spray paint, because you got to Xenithol highlight everything. Not a fan of Xenithol highlighting, I will be honest, but I want to see what these look like when you paint them up in a Sundrop technique, because I've seen someone, as I say in German, paint them up grayscale. I think we could do Ultramarines. That'd be an interesting thing, wouldn't it? Let's get outside. So the first thing you need to do is shake up your black primer and then spray the entire model black, especially the underneath areas, because that's where it's most important. We then have to shake up our grey properly and then do that at a 45-degree angle. So making sure there is black all underneath, but making sure that you spray quite a lot of the model, and also do this obviously when all the black has dried. Then lastly, we look at the white. So for the white, I have sprayed from above, but also sort of at a 25-degree angle, doing a little spray to get it on sort of slight other areas as well. If you got an airbrush, you could do this easy peasy, but I don't own an airbrush, so everything has to be done with spray paints. So it's been a couple of days since I've sprayed these. I've let the spray settle in, and as you can see, this is what it's like. So on all the lighter areas, where from above is white, all the dark areas are basically black, and most of the rest of the model is grey. That is basically Xenithol priming in a nutshell. But we're now going to try and just coat this thing blue using a contrast paint, and this is my first time ever using this one, so we're going to use Ultramarines blue. So I'll give it a right good old shake. I'm going to be using a very old tatty brush, and we're just gonna, straight from the pot, paint a model. So just use the shoulder pad here for an example. As you'll see, it's going to basically start seeping into all of the model as is, and you just want to make sure that you get those flat surfaces right. But it doesn't have to be too perfect, because we are going to touch it up in a bit basically. But just make sure that you coat everything and basically not miss too much. So I've basically left the contrast to dry overnight, and now it's the next day. We are going to touch up the rest of the model by first using Army Painter's Viking Blue. And what we're just basically going to do is we're going to dry brush. So make sure you get most of the paint off the brush, and then starting from the top, which is the areas which are the ones that attract the most light, then you just lightly just brush it all over the model, starting from the top, brush it across, and then start brushing it down on the other areas of the model. It's quite simple. When you've done that, this is what the model will look like. As you can see, it's picked out a lot more of the details and sort of picked out some of the higher areas. Just only slightly, we are going to add another paint in a bit to make sure that it definitely gives a bit more contrast to it. But as you can see, this is what the first effect does. So now we're going to be using a Vallejo Deep Sky Blue, and basically what we want to do here is once again highlight the model with a dry brush. So we start from the top once again. Please make sure that you do take the majority of the excess of the paint off onto a kitchen towel or anything else you use in your hand, whatever. Just make sure that there's barely any paint on there, and then we work from the top again, just brushing it straight across all the areas that would have been affected by the light, and then we just do downwards brush strokes across the rest of the bottom of the model. Again, it'll pick out the top areas, and it's very simple to do. So this is what it looks like when you are done. It is the one on the right, and the one on the left is with just the Viking blue across it, so you can see the difference in tone. And I will say that that is basically it. This is, if you paint the gun as well, Sundrop. That is Sundrop in a nutshell. It is very fast, very easy to do, and it looks really good. I have to say it does look quite good, but for me, I'm going to take it up a little bit of a notch. That's why I've not painted the guns, and I'm going to do a bit of a Sundrop Plus type of effect to basically show you where you can get these painted up just that little bit nicer, have a little bit more detail to them, and look more effective on the tabletop rather than just be a solid blue colour. But if you are doing stuff like, I don't know, Tyranids or any alien creatures like that, then I think you could get away with this method really, really well. So it's been pretty much a week since I first started these off, and here are the fully painted Marines now. Camera's going to be a little bit shaky. I do apologise because I have not got a hand stabiliser yet. Can't afford one. And I can't get the tripod up here to my bedroom where I basically film and do the pictures in my lightbox. So anyway, here we have the finished Marines, and as you can see, they have the blue, which we have done previously, and this is what I would call a Sundrop Plus method, because you basically take the Sundrop technique that we've done, add a little bit to it, and I mean just a little bit as well, and make them look like this. I'm really impressed with how these have turned out myself, I will be honest. When I first started this Sundrop video, I honestly didn't think they'd look good in the end. I have always been used to the, layering technique that Games Workshop have always shown since I first started, and so yeah, I'm shocked at how well these have come out, I will be honest. So all I did was do a silver colour on the guns, and then a necromancer cloak for all the black areas, did a old gold on the golden areas, and then used my usual face colour, which is tanned flesh. And then for the flesh areas, washing them, and the gold areas, I used the Gulliman Flesh contrast paint,
and it seems to have worked out quite well, I'll be honest. I'm really impressed with that Gulliman flesh, and how it's come out and made the gold look better, the old gold. And the face, obviously, I highlighted it with Army Painter's Barbarian Flesh in the end. I also used it on the parchment paper, so I used a Banshee Brown and then just used the Gulliman Flesh and then used the Banshee Brown again, just to add a little bit. And for the red, for the helmets and the basically purity seals, I think they're called, I just did my usual red technique, as well as the eyes. My usual red technique is heavy red by Vallejo, wash it with Null Oil, and then do a blood red over the top. So yeah, I am really impressed with this squad, and as soon as I got it done, it basically took me 2 more painting sessions to get them to this stage, but that was very slow painting sessions. I could have done it in one painting session, in all honesty, because all you have to do is do the silver, do the blacks, do the golds, do the reds, do the purity seals, wash everything, and yeah, that's it. I'll show you the backs of one of the models, because I forgot about these things, the gun holder things. So basically they are a brown. I think I used a werewolf fur and then just washed it with Agrax Earthshade. Really simple. Really, really simple. And I could have got these done to this standard if I wanted to in 2 days, really, because you did the spray technique for the first day, then it's just literally the dry brushing, wait for the dry brushing to dry, which literally doesn't take long, and then do the layering up. So yeah, I could have got these done in 2 days if I really wanted to. I just took me a week because I couldn't be bothered. So yeah, I hope you enjoy this, and this shows you what you can do with the Sundrop technique, and then highlight that Sundrop technique for a Sundrop Plus technique, which is basic tabletop standard. Seriously, anybody could realistically do this level, I feel. It's very not hard, and you're just using a couple of contrast paints to basically get the most out of it. That's it, guys. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time.